And we're back again. Same old, same old, same old. Leafs lose game 7, 3-1 to the Montreal Canadiens. Uninspired, no fight, no commitment. It's just depressing. I don't know where we go from here. I'm sure we'll touch on that. But Antonia is joining us again. Matt can't be here today. Brandon's back on the mic. I'm sure we could be, I don't know. I'm just upset with this team, but not surprised. Antonia, where do you stand?
Um, Honestly, I surprised myself. I'm not mad. I'm just confused. Um, I'm sure we'll get into it later, but yeah, I thought I was gonna be really upset and really mad, but I'm not. I'm just confused. And I think part of that comes from, like you said, just expecting that it was gonna happen.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I was extra hopeful this year. Wore my jersey out of spite that I didn't think I should have for some superstitious reason. Everything was just, it was feeling so sad to me because my neighborhood was talking about the game. People that never watched hockey before had Leafs flags in their front yard. My dad bought out all the old carpets and jerseys from the basement. I just had a feeling all day that it was just going to be such a huge letdown. And unfortunately, no matter how hard I think one way or the other, they always end up losing and breaking my heart. Unfortunately, being a Leafs fan comes with its ups, but that was about it. It was a regular season. So something's wrong with the playoffs. And I think it's the next step on our mind is not worried about the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you can have the greatest regular season in the world, but if you can't get it done in the playoffs, then there's really no point to doing that, right? Because at the end of the day, we're just going to look at the record books and it's going to say, okay, yeah, the Leafs finished first in the North Division, but they didn't get to play. Like, to me now, they're not the champs of the North Division. It's whoever comes out of the playoffs. That's who you're representing, right? You were the better team through the playoffs. That's what matters. No one celebrates a President's Trophy win. You celebrate a Stanley Cup win. That's what you're going after. And like they were trying to justify it on the radio today by saying, "Oh, but they won a division title for the first time in like 50 years or something." Like, who cares, man? Like, we just wanted to get out of the first round. Let us go on and play Winnipeg or whoever was going to come out of that series at the time. But I don't know. Like, let's talk about the game last night quickly, and maybe we can talk about what's next for this team. I thought last night they looked, I mean, I said it to kick off the show, uninspired, didn't really have any fight, didn't care, no intensity. I thought maybe two or three players showed up. I thought Nylander looked okay. Campbell was good. Spezza had some intensity, but outside of that, I didn't really see anybody show up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a good way to start it. I think I'll name three players as well. I was interested by and appreciated their effort. I'd say Nylander consistently throughout this series, and that was coming from an individual myself who actually probably didn't have as much respect for Nylander to begin with when it comes to clutch performance, necessary performance, and like contract worthiness performance, I guess. Um, Jack Campbell did everything he could have done, and there was no one else in my mind, including a 100% healthy Fred Anderson, that deserved to be in the net other than Jack Campbell. And wow, I don't want to agree with you 100% here, but like I would
You can say
yesterday.
Spezza, it's fine.
I don't know what to say because I can't even say Simmons.
No.
He didn't really do much. I can't say Matthews. I would have, even if they won without him scoring last night, because he was just a presence away from the puck. But like he disappointed me as well. And Marner, sorry, not Marner, but I think it would have been Muzzin if he was to play, because he's just a consistent. I mean, throughout this series, the 5 games or whatever he played, he's a calm source of reliability for me as a fan and as a player. I'm sure to have back there. I wish I could have said Morgan Riley, but I think for now I'll just say the three will be Muzzin as well.
Yeah. Antonia, what about you?
I think Campbell's my number one the whole series. I think he's been the most, him and Nylander have been the most consistent. And like you were saying, I've never had much respect for Nylander either, especially in the regular season. He's like the most inconsistent player you can probably ever see. So it was good to see him be consistent. It's like him and Marner kind of swapped from the regular season to the playoffs. But Campbell, yeah, and I saw him in the post game, he was like blaming himself and saying that like he wished he could have had that goal back. And I was just like, I don't know, it's not, I don't think it was his fault at all. He did everything he could in games 1 to 7. And the first line disappointed me a lot. the depth pieces stepped up throughout the series. And I don't know, I just think that the fact that the first line wasn't able to do anything, it was really frustrating. And they came so close to at some points, then it was, I don't even know.
Yeah.
It was one of those games. It was one of those games that's going to bring change. Like, but is change the answer? We don't know that yet. Like, I thought this team, Tavares went down and then they responded well. And then after that, they just didn't really, as soon as they lost in game 5, in game 5 to Montreal, I just started getting that dreaded feeling. And then after that loss in game 6, I'm like, okay, yeah, nope, that's fine. I'm at peace. I thought they let down Tavares, they let down Campbell. I know Thornton didn't really show up, but like they let him down too, because this may have been his last season. I thought they let Spezza down. I thought they let all the veteran guys that came in down. They didn't show up. And, I was going to get to this later, but I might as well bring it up now. Who's going to want to sign with Toronto now on one of those sweetheart deals to try and win a cup in their last year if the guys on the team aren't going to show up and play for them, right? Because Thornton could have gone anywhere. I'm sure any team would have taken him on a $700,000 to $1 million deal. But, he signed with the Leafs because, as he said, I want to win a cup. I want to win a cup with this team. And he thought that they were the best chance, and that didn't happen. Why would other vets do this? Like, if, let's say, who's a free agent, off the top of my head, Ryan Getzlaf next year wants to win one more cup, and he's looking at between, Tampa Bay and Toronto. Well, he's going to take Tampa. Even though Toronto's in Canada and he's Canadian, and everyone always wants to play for one of the bigger franchises. Why would he come here? Like, I would tell him, go play in Tampa. You got a better shot there. The players there actually show up in the playoffs. So that's just something I took away from I don't know if I'm overreacting there or not, but that's just something I took away from this playoff series, is that the players don't show up when it matters, and that's going to affect people coming here. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but that's just what I left up on that.
To say that, I mean, we can do what we can to make trades, although like people can't, refuse to trade. If you trade for Marner and you get, whoever, someone ridiculous, it's going to be exciting to have them, or a big trade regardless.
We'll get to him.
Free agency, I'm still not. That's not my biggest concern. When we lost last night, I wasn't worried about, oh wow, free agents aren't going to want to come here. I'm more concerned about the core pieces now, especially the length and term and how much we pay them moving forward, especially making sure that, we give enough money to keep guys like Hyman around instead of maybe, more important pieces, my Anderson even. So personally, no, I'm not too worried about people wanting to come here. I think it'll be interesting off season, and you might see some more veterans come, but like I just don't think that that's at my top priority as a concern of a Leafs fan.
Yeah, I mean, let's get back to the game. I guess the whole series. Obviously, we've agreed that the players didn't show up, and I know my answer for this, but is this series on Keefe for not deploying his players properly and adjusting when needed, or is it on the players for not showing up? Is a little bit of both? Antonia, where do you stand on that?
I think that's hard to say because we don't know. Like I've said before, we don't know what goes on in the locker room and stuff. Like he could be telling them to do something, and like maybe they're not able to execute it right or whatever. Like we don't know what goes on behind doors. I know people were upset that he wasn't splitting up Matthews and Marner at all in the series, which I guess I can understand why people would be upset, because people were referring back to Babcock and how he was so stubborn when he was here, and it kind of looked like he was doing the same thing. And it's frustrating too, because Keefe normally, like throughout his time that he's been here, he's normally been the type of coach that will make changes when they need to be made. Like he's never really been stubborn or anything, like in my opinion. So I was kind of shocked to see that he didn't make any obvious changes. So that kind of worried me. I don't know if I would blame the series on him, though. I think him and Dubas are I think they should kind of be let off the hook. I even have trouble blaming the players, and like the reason I say this is like it's their fault. They screwed up, they made mistakes, they couldn't score, like whatever. They made those mistakes. But like last night I found myself asking, like, why do they make these mistakes? And I was just thinking about it, and it's taken 17 years for them to get past the first round. And, even in the past few years with Matthews and Marner and like all those guys not being able to, so many different players have come in and off of the roster. The roster's changed so many times. Coaches have changed. Management has changed. So I honestly believe that it's just the organization and the franchise and the culture that is just so rotten and so like it's just messed up. It's screwed up, and they just have to I don't know what it is. They don't have, because they had the playoff experience, guys. They had the vets, they had the leaders, they had the skill, they had everything. So I believe that if you took this roster and you put it in another city under another franchise, guaranteed round 2 for sure. I think it's I strongly believe this, that it's the organization that is just so messed up, and they need to blow it up, put it under a different name, do something, because you can't have you take Crosby and McDavid and McKinnon, you bring them here, they're going to flop too. Same thing's going to happen. No player that you bring here at this time is going to make any difference unless there's actual change that's made to the way that this organization or franchise is run. That's what I believe.
Yeah, it could be a culture issue. We won't know the answer to that. Brandon, maybe you got some more insight into if culture could be the issue. You've played a high level of hockey. Could culture actually affect
I wouldn't decimate my fan base, though. That's for sure. The Leafs fans care. You can't make anything out of that. Here we are talking about them and seeing what we could do as a personnel. You can't change that. There's a lot of more toxic fan bases. Boston, even Montreal, if they were to lose. Vancouver rioted, may I add. So here we are sane, not doing too much, just talking about it and blaming a few and pointing a few fingers. You could put Sidney Crosby here, and I'm sure his tradition and the people that respect him and the way he does his morning skates, his preparation, his workouts would drive a different culture here for sure and be a different role model. But the Leafs fans, you have to be able to understand where you're coming to. It's similar to what can we say? It's going to the Lakers, going to the New York Yankees. These teams just can't get up and as theoretical as it may be, we can't just get up and go down the street to Hamilton or go up to Quebec or go down to Texas. This is it. This is where we are. We're the greatest, one of the greatest franchises to ever fucking play hockey. And the fan base is why we care and why they even have momentum to do the things that they do. So, I'm with us. I'm not overreacting just yet, but I like listening to some of the interesting takes, especially where the fingers are pointed today and this week compared to maybe in 2 months.
Right. So one of the main issues in this series was that the Stars didn't really show up. One of those Stars was Mitch Marner. He is currently signed. What is he making? 10.93, something like that. 10.693. He's got his junior number in there. His quotes last night were concerning. There seemed to be a lot of me. And then when things he can improve on, and then when it came to spreading the blame, he seemed to drag Matthews into it. Maybe I'm overthinking that one, but it seemed kind of weird. I didn't think he was very good. He kind of showed me that he wasn't a playoff player, lack of care, maybe it was in his head. What do you do with Marner moving forward? Because I said it yesterday, the Eichel for Marner trade talk would pick up today, and then I throw on 590 this morning, and they're talking about Eichel for Marner. I don't know if that's a solution, but what would you do with Marner in the offseason, Brandon?
It would have to be a 2-piece trade, but I won't talk first. I'd love to hear what everyone else has to think, and then I'll go and laugh. You can't just go Marner. You can't go Marner for Eichel, but that's just a different topic. I mean, Marner is at least can play. So,
Antonia, what would you do with him in this offseason?
I don't even know. It's hard because every season he's helped bring us. He's been one of the main reasons why we make it to the playoffs in the first place. Yeah. And then he just shuts off in the playoffs. So I don't know. Then you can compare him to Nylander too and say, would you rather have someone that only shows up in the playoffs, or would you rather have someone that only shows up in the regular season? I think though that if big changes are going to be made, and especially if you want to keep someone like Hyman, which obviously I think that's a no-brainer that he should stay. But if you want to keep someone like him, he's obviously going to be asking for a bit more. Marner's contract is huge. So, I mean, if you're able to get someone like a Hyman for him, or a couple smaller pieces that play similar type of style to Hyman that are tougher and that that are actually tough, like not these guys that we labeled as tough and then they come here and do nothing, then I would, like, the thought of Marner leaving makes me want to like cry. But I feel like if change has to be made, then he possibly could be on his way out the door.
Yeah, I mean, he's due a forget what, I think it's 9.3 signing bonus on, or contract bonus or whatever it is on Canada Day. So he's getting paid. I think a majority of his contract is actually out of the way cash wise. It's just the cap hit the team would have to worry about. But teams, with how you can structure contracts, wouldn't actually have to pay him that much physical cash or direct deposit or whatever you want to call it. So he has a trade option.
Or didn't you start doing contracts in Bitcoin?
Exactly. Well, didn't an NBA player do that?
I think he asked for his payout. He asked for his final contract. Like, it was an NFL player.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds familiar. But I mean, another option that I saw, which I don't hate, maybe if you are done with him and you do need change and you can't find a trade partner, we do have another team joining the NHL. Just open them up, see if they open them up in the expansion draft, see if Seattle would take them. If that does happen, you're not really getting anything back. The only thing you're getting
just for nothing.
Well, but hang on. The only thing you're getting back is $11 million in cap space, which does have some value to it that allows you to go out and get free agents. And it does give you space to trade players in as well. But that's not the best option. If you are truly done with him, though, that is there, because I'm sure Seattle would pick up a player like him. But who knows? That's not one of your options.
Yeah. Let's just keep talking about that for a wishful thinking, because we might be swayed to be Seattle fans soon, and I would buy that. Would be my first jersey.
I don't know. That's my question at the end for everybody. But I don't know. It's just if trading Marner's the answer, then you better get a good value back for him, because I think change does have to come with this team, and it can't be a little change like Frederik Andersen leaving, because we didn't really have Freddie this year anyway, and nothing changed. Right? Yeah, he was with the team and he played some games. He was on the bench when it mattered.
I think
Yeah, go ahead.
If he can, be mature about it and take a minimalistic pay cut, like, this is a two-team tandem that can definitely go for the next 2 to 3 years at a very high level. These two goalies back to back. He just has to be willing to be Michael Jordan era. I'll just play because I want to be with the greats or something like that. Take the minimum salary or something.
Yeah. I don't know. They're gonna need. They are gonna need somebody to. They will need someone to run with Campbell if it's Freddie. I don't know. We do need that money to free up Hyman. And I saw a list last night. The Leafs have like 11 or 12 people they need to re-sign.
Yeah.
Going to UFAs or I think that was just UFAs. They have a couple RFAs as well. So there is work to be done. One of the people I am thinking about, and this will kind of get into the what's next for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is Nick Foligno, who we did give up a first-round pick for. Foligno wasn't 100%. He played 11 games for the Maple Leafs, and it did cost them a first-round pick, and I believe it cost them, was it another third as well or something like that? It was like a first and a third.
Before you go on, can I also say that I mentioned this the first day after he got traded, and he was talking in his Columbus home before leaving in an online presser. He mentioned that he was open to coming back to Columbus right away.
Yeah, but so was that Nick Foligno trade in hindsight? And yeah, hindsight's always 20/20. Was it worth it? Do you still stand by it? Looking back at it, that was a waste of a first-round pick.
Yeah, Antonia, what do you think?
At the time, I didn't think it was going to be a waste, because I was like, I think that the pick that we gave up was like 30. It was like 31st, or it was like at the end, wasn't it?
It'll be lower now because they were eliminated in the first round.
Right. So I don't know. At the time, I thought it was going to be worth it, because you look at who he is and you just automatically assume like he's going to be great, but he wasn't. And I think it was a waste. I think they easily could have just used someone like, even if they had Brooks in the lineup in the playoffs instead of him, then I think we same kind of outcome. Didn't really contribute anything, I don't think.
Yeah. I think I agree with some of your points. Like, he wasn't stand out in the terms of what we gave up for him, what we expected to get back out from him. I was really pleased, obviously, like you were, for the first week or two when he was announced to our team, and we realized the leadership, and everyone was talking about, wow, the Toronto Maple Leafs have 5 recent captains on their team now. Like, they can't have something wrong with their leadership group. But I think a little bit this goes back to how Sheldon Keefe and Josh were talking about. Well, I'm sure Josh wishes, but Josh was talking about Sheldon Keefe and how he uses his team. I don't think he was used. I mean, although unhealthy, so minimalistic, I could barely even notice him on the ice. And I think he was most noticeable with a larger role. Hopefully he's okay, but I mean, you can't use someone who's injured and hindered on their abilities. I just think that he was at best when he was a second line, every other third line for sure, centerman. I think, ideally he would have been the depth centerman that would have just got you through to get till you get this series back with John Tavares. Like, I just think that was his role. That's all he had to do was be, that was his role, just had to get a little bit more enhanced, just like everyone else's when John went down. But I think his leadership kind of lacked when it came down to it. And I never heard him being outspoken. He looked quiet, mouth closed on the ice, on the bench. The camera was never on him. And yeah, to your point, I just kind of think he was a little bit ghost when we needed him the most, like everyone else. But I don't think that it was like, in hindsight, I think it was a good deal. Like, on paper, every day, tomorrow, I still take the Leafs in 8, but like, happened.
It made sense at the time, right? And just that's why I said hindsight's 2020. But so, is there a chance that obviously this team makes a lot of money? They're going to make a lot of money no matter what next year. Is there a chance that changes might be coming higher up than like Keith and Dubas? Because MLSE, the board might start looking at this and going, guys, what the hell are you doing? Because they might be looking over to the New York Islanders, they don't really have, they got Matt Barzal's their superstar. You look at Carolina Hurricanes, they don't really pay their players too much either. And those are two of the most successful teams in the NHL right now. So is the board going to start looking at this? Because you see that happening and be like, okay, what's going on? Do we need to change the culture here? Do we need to bring in someone else? Do we need to do a restructuring up top? Like, maybe
this is the summer of a Kawhi-like trade.
Exactly, maybe. Right? Like the Raptors, when Kawhi came in, Brandon, you would know more than me.
This would literally be like DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, essentially, at a younger version, letting go of each other, Matthews and Marner.
So let's use that Kawhi one, because we saw it work. They brought in Kawhi, and they, like, same year, win the championship. When Kawhi was brought in, did that change the culture around the team?
Yeah, 100%. Even guys still mention it. Even obviously, if you follow basketball, OG Anunoby and Boucher, the younger guys of the core of the Toronto Raptors who were drafted by them, say that they idolized the way that Kawhi would just go about his game, and he kind of led by example. And that was the Toronto culture that everyone was like so sought after, because we were like always the ones to brag and have people talk about it. And then we were just winning the championship, and our most, talked about superstar wouldn't say a word in the media. And we just thought that was the coolest thing, because he was just about business, and he brought us a championship and broke our heart. But I think the first part is what matters the most.
Yeah. So, Antonia, do you think there's changes coming up top? Like, could we be looking at someone to maybe help Shanahan out, someone above Shanahan? I don't know. It's something to restructure the culture here. Would that help?
I think it would. I think more than that's going to have to be done. Like, they're going to have to pull off like a Kawhi trade, like you were saying. Like, something with the players is going to have to be done, like on the ground level. But like, this is what I was talking about before with how the organization is like screwed up. Not so much like with the fans and the fan base, but just the way that the way that they operate, I guess you can say, in terms of
in favor of the fan base, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like, I think they act as if though they're a part of the fan base and this is what they want to see. But I think I try to put words in your mouth there, but like, to the fanboy, to the everyone, even inside of the Leafs, is a Leafs fan, I think, and it's kind of hinders their decision making.
Yeah, that's true. And I've heard a lot of people say that when they get into the business of sports, like they kind of lose the joy of being a fan. So I don't know if it's like similar to what you were saying, where maybe they kind of need to detach themselves from the fan side of things, and just focus on what's actually going to make this team succeed. Because from a fan's point of view, some people might not want to let go of Marner because, they like the guy, he's likable, all that stuff.
From the area.
From a business side, you might say, he's not the best person to have because he shuts down in situations like this. And maybe realizing that you do need tough guys that are actually tough and that are going to change the whole mentality of the team and whatever. But in terms of like at the top, I definitely think, I don't know if it's the way that they go about negotiating with the players or the way that they go about paying them, or I don't know what it is, but something has to change at the top in order for it to change at the bottom.
I agree there. We got a couple more points here. what approach would you take with this team? Because obviously it's going to get complicated with the expansion draft. We do have that coming up. You are going to lose a player. So what approach would you take? Because I look at a team like the Avalanche, who have gone just best player available, let's go guns blazing, and that's working for them. Or do you look at a team like the New York Islanders, who don't necessarily take the best player available, but they take the best player available for the role they want them to play? Because they're a very role-focused team. What approach would work for this Leafs team? I'm of the mind that, you tried to do it this year by bringing in Thornton, Foligno, Simmons. I didn't mind Spezza, but he was an older veteran. And it didn't work. Outside of Spezza, I thought he was phenomenal. I don't really think those other guys had a positive impact on this season at all. So do you go back to the approach of just young gun skill, score goals, don't worry about the veteran heavy play? Or do you need that? Do we need more of that, Brandon? What do you think?
I feel like for me to answer this question would be like better based off of if we had more success in the playoffs, because I think this was the most physical team on paper, talked about, aggressive around the puck that we've had in the last 5 years that was competitive.
And they had one fight in the playoffs.
Colton or respectively, and talking about those guys. I think that you saw, like, I think even people and my dad too, like, I think they're wrongly mistaken that Joe Thornton was the type of guy to drop the gloves. And I think that ever since he got here, that was always something on people's minds, as if though he was supposed to be a tough guy for us, when his job was to simply talk on the bench in the locker room and maybe pass the puck for 5 minutes a game and get on the power play every once in a while. And people thought of him as a second tough guy behind Muzzin and Simmons. And I think that the fan base was mistakenly wrong. And Joe Thornton was definitely probably not the player maybe out there. And I think you added, well, we didn't add, you have Spezza, and then, I don't know how old obviously Wayne Simmons is. He's a seasoned veteran for sure, but he's not young by any means. And I think that you truly just learn, you can't just, as I think Antonia said earlier, you can't just change the team up every year and put a bunch of different new tough guys in that you think are tough, but also just can't mesh with the team. I mean, sometimes people are let go from other teams for reasons that you can't necessarily predict that'll come to fruition on your team. You hope that everyone comes with a blank slate, but people have tendencies, and apparently the players we picked up weren't the right. So maybe speed and size, or speed and less size rather, would be, or height. I think a different breed of UFAs and RFAs or whatever has to be attacked here, because I think you're right. Simmons, Thornton, Spezza, although 40% of the time decent, I think there are more younger and hungrier players out there that would love to don the Maple Leafs jersey and try harder.
Antonio, which way would you go? Would you go for more veterans or more young skill approach?
I don't think we need more veterans, because we had so many.
It didn't work.
Year. Yeah, it literally didn't do anything, sadly. But I don't even, because then if you go just skill, and then are we going to run into the problem where we don't have the toughness and stuff? Like if you just go for speed and scoring, are we going to be turned to be like, I don't know, like Edmonton, where they're, I don't even know if that's a good comparison, but very heavily focused on speed and skill and scoring, and not focused like the Jets, for example, where they have kind of like an even balance of skill and toughness. So I don't know what approach would be best. It's hard to say, because we've experienced both. We've experienced a lot of vets, and we've experienced a lot of skill. Yeah. I don't know if it's just that we can't seem to find the right balance, or like what Brandon was saying, where maybe we're getting guys that carry the or the image, or they seem to be like the type of people that are gonna, run guys over and stand up for the team. But in reality, the team that they were previously on let them go for a reason. So maybe we're picking up the wrong guys. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting offseason to see how they kind of tweak and approach this and make this team a playoff contender. I personally would go not superstars, but like skill guys. I don't think you need, maybe have a fourth line, but that's a veteran-heavy team, but
I mean, what if you just let up some guys? I'm looking around, and you just free up a different amount of cap space. You get Ovechkin and UFA, and then you trade for Tom Wilson, and all of a sudden you have those two of the most deadliest weapons on right-handed shots in the NHL on your team. I don't know. Obviously a stretch.
You lose Marner in the expansion draft. That frees up $11 million. Sign Ovi 1 year, $11 million. Go for the cup.
Get Wilson from Toronto over here too.
Yeah,
get him.
You could have a fourth line of Tom Wilson, Ryan Reeves, and I don't know, bring back Cole
Simmons,
sure. Jason Spezza.
Spezza will take another. I think if he is a UFA, he'll take another league minimum to come back.
Yeah.
I don't think it's here though. Guy wants a cup.
I do. He's valuable, more valuable than Thornton.
Yeah. I think he'd come back here. I don't think he'd go anywhere else. I think
he might not want.
He had a great time, and he played out of his mind. Like, he was loving it. Yeah. I think his age and his position. His role is flourishing. No matter the team success. I mean, I think this is where he belongs. I mean, and he might be used in as a Leafs fan speaking. I think he could be improperly used anywhere else, but here he's doing great.
Yeah, the only reason I can see him not leaving is because like his family's already here. He's from Toronto, and they're
and like we always say, like, or not always say, like I've said, like, and I'm sure you would agree with, he would. I'm sure he's fine enough to take the 700, whatever, 800, 900,000 just to play hockey for the year.
Yeah, I can also see him being the type of guy that they keep on, like in management and stuff, and give him some sort of role there as well.
Sort of like a Steve Ott or Manny Malhotra.
Stefan Robida, Nick Andropov, they're both in the Leafs front office. But I mean, there's your next coach, Jason Spezza.
You know what? I think just like Rob Brendamore, people would want to play for him.
Right. So I got one more question, and then I got a little bit of a fun one. Manny Malhotra was brought in this year to work on. He did a good job with the face-offs. Fantastic on that. And then he was brought in to work on the power play, which I found a little bit confusing because he used to kill penalties. Power play started off really hot and then kind of died. Never seemed to be able to adjust. Is that one change you would make? I'd get rid of him, and I know Bruce Boudreau absolutely loves Toronto. He was open to coming here. Do you take another run at that, or is that window pounced? Brandon.
Oh, wow. I never was too informed on Bruce Boudreau. Do you think he's a good option?
Yeah. He's got so much experience. I think he could help Keefe out a lot. I think it would actually take a lot of pressure off of Sheldon.
I'm not sure if Manny Malhotra leaving makes the answer. I think his presence is...
No, but it's just one of those changes that I could see happening.
Maybe. Personally, if I'm Sheldon Keefe today, right now, I'm not looking down the line and thinking, fuck, Manny Malhotra's got to go. But I think that he brings in good...
What was the name of the guy that looked like a walrus from Ottawa?
Phil... Fuck.
No,
I think it was Paul something.
Was it Paul McLean?
Yeah, McLean.
Anyway, he was on the Leafs coaching staff this year, but he just watching the game from the press box. Maybe put him on the bench. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, Paul McLean.
Yeah, he was on the Leafs coaching staff, but he was just up in the press box. So maybe bring him down. I don't know. He's already on your staff. Sorry I called you a walrus, Paul, but best way to get it across. Like, yeah, sorry, you guys, but do you think that could be a change coming or not? Or am I just nitpicking now?
Honestly, I think anything is possible at this point. I definitely think that this was kind of like the last straw. It's possible. I don't know. It depends what direction they're looking at too. Like, are they going to look at changing the players? Are they going to look at changing? Like, it depends what kind of direction they want to go. So I think it's possible.
Yeah, Brandon.
Are we asking me about the Malhotra thing again?
Yeah, you did. I cut you off. You didn't really finish your answer.
No, before you cut me off, I said I just don't think he's on my list of top priorities to let go. I think he'll get hired somewhere else, and I think, to your question and your curiosity about why he is on the power play, I think because of his great penalty killing and his experience dissecting penalty power plays throughout his career, it helps him put together a power play of his own that might see through good defenders. I think that's why he's here, because if you're killing penalties, you know how they operate. And with some of the highest skill available, I still think power plays are streaky, and maybe it's not his fault just yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, fun question. Going into next season, I don't know if I have it in my heart to put too much stock into the Maple Leafs. I don't think I can do it. I'll always cheer for them. I got a giant flag behind me. I got tons of Leafs jerseys. I've supported them since I moved here when I was 6. Is it dumb of me? Is it ridiculous to not cheer for a different team, but just have a vested interest in a different team next year? And I was trying to think of teams I can cheer for, right? So I was looking at some teams. I was like, the Avalanche seemed fun, but that seemed like more of a bandwagon jump. Buffalo's close by, but they're a dumpster fire. Ottawa, yeah, I don't know if I could cheer for another Canadian team like that. And I thought, well, there's a brand new team coming in next year. They have no history. They literally don't have any players at the moment. Why don't I just cheer for the Seattle Kraken next year, just for 1 year, to get a break from the Maple Leafs and enjoy watching hockey again? Because I did not enjoy watching this Maple Leafs team. Now that I think about it this year, I was too stressed. I didn't enjoy it. I knew they were going to fail, like just in the back of my head. Is it ridiculous for me to want to just go join the Kraken for a year and then maybe float back to the Maple Leafs? Brandon, what do you think?
Enjoy the Kraken, we will, I'm sure. Not just the hockey team as well. I'm there with you. A lot of conversation between you and I on about what being a fan about a sport really is. And I think although dedicated to one team is how you should be a fan traditionally in that sport, looking within and having enjoyment when watching this sport is a bigger factor. And although the Leafs were so competitive, first place, Rocket Richard, my favorite player ever, at the moment, obviously, is Austin Matthews, wore his jersey last night. Love seeing them in first place. Brutally upset every time something exciting happens. It's like the movie that the ending to, that you obviously don't really want to watch, but it's there and it's pretty much the biggest thing on television. And essentially we all know maybe about game 5 or 6, which are like over 10 million on average, or over 10 million total Canadian views, 4 million on average. I think that just like you, my love for the Leafs will never fade.
Right.
I feel like last night I was really coming to terms after the loss with reminiscing and now obviously almost falling in line with my father's generational fan bases around the Leafs. And it's just like 67, maybe a couple of my dad was born. He saw that he would have been 8 or so. But even, the younger fathers and the generation of Leafs fans coming up through this, I just feel like this is what that felt like. And I always thought we were over that. Once we had our first overall draft pick score 44 goals in his first season, I was like, okay, well, I just think being a fan for the Leafs for the next 10 years might be a little bit more exciting than Darcy Tucker, Matt Sundin, and Nick Antropov floating around, middle of the pack, not really being exciting. I think that, that will be where I stand, and I will obviously want to watch the more exciting games of the Leafs. But if, my sport here obviously might change to basketball, because it seems a little bit more fun and exciting from every angle, because although I am a Raptors fan, it's kind of just by them being the only team here and not being on a bandwagon to a whole sport in a new country with teams. But I do have favorite players that I follow their team. And I think that's what I like about the NBA the most, is that it's more star, and Matt and I talked about this, our other hosts, is that it's more star driven, and teams and players and fans rather are more driven to play with certain players and superstars, and rather than the logo on your chest. And I think that it helps us out here to get through enjoying hockey by watching the Kraken. And I think that seeing how they score goals, like we know the first year.
How fun was Vegas that first year?
I was just going to say, in Vegas, they had like a firework explosion out of a castle. I was just like, wow, like they're doing the entertainment part, right? And Seattle, they've been dying for professional sport on a very competitive level, I'm sure, since the Seattle Supersonics left. And, they really have a WNBA team there and an MLB team and NFL. Regardless, they're not in a couple of the bigger, markets. And those teams are on the edge of, mediocrity as well. Sorry, I'm taking so long, but I think that I'll be enjoying the Kraken just as well as Josh will. And I'm not ashamed. Come at me. I'm not worried about it. I'm not a bandwagon. You talk about it. I'm more about hockey right now than I am a Leafs fan. Like, I just want to be happy and not have something dependent on a team that has a curse.
Antonia, what about you? What's your approach here?
I know the Leafs are cursed. I think that we're by becoming Leafs fans, we're kind of setting ourselves up for years of failure. Hopefully it ends soon, but I don't know what's going to break this curse. But I'm actually curious to see whether sales go down
Yeah, that's a big
for the Leafs. Like not just ticket sales, but jerseys and like all those other like memorabilia, the memorabilia and everything. I'm curious to see because Leafs fans always say I'm gonna go to games and I'm gonna buy things regardless of whether they win or lose. But I'm getting a different vibe this year, so I'm really curious to see that. But also be watching Leafs games because they still are entertaining for the regular season at least. But I'm because of how interesting Vegas was in their first year, I'm also going to be interested to see how Seattle does too.
Yeah, and I think that might be approach. And like Brandon said, I'll never not be a fan of the Leafs. Like they'll always have that place in my heart. Just goddamn fucking team. I'll probably end up floating back, but I just think I need a year to enjoy the sport, and that might be next year. Maybe they'll surprise me, and I'll see what they do in the offseason. But I think next year I'm not done. Just gonna take a break. If that
maybe if all these fans leave and switch fan bases, then that's knowing the Leafs, that's going to be the year that they actually do good, and then everyone's going to come crawling back.
Well, you know what? I'm allowed to go back. You're allowed.
I'm officially not wearing a jersey until we make it past the second round.
That's like God. I don't know. I think one thing we'll definitely look at this maybe in like a couple after this is done, but the Leafs are going back to the Atlantic Division next year, and that's no joke. Tampa's strong, Boston's strong, Florida's no joke, Ottawa's on the uprise. Montreal just beat you. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting next year, but until then, there's not really much we can do.
Do you think that's going to change what they look for? The fact that they know that they're going to be in a different division now, like they're going to look for different pieces than they would have if the division stayed the same.
I think I think obviously you'd like to, but if you think that your team stands a chance, as it should have every year, as it's built right now, that next year's offseason would be like absolutely the biggest thing to happen since like volcanoes erupted. So
since volcanoes erupted.
Matthews, Arizona, everyone just fucking scatters.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Well, Antonia, thanks for joining us today. That was a lot of fun. I know I ask you this every time, but where can we find you?
My podcast is called That Hockey Chick. That's my Instagram, and then my Twitter is The Hockey Chick.
Bad time to take a drink. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll let you go. Brandon and I are going to talk some basketball now. How do I do it? All right. See you later. How do I? Good.
She just leave?
I kicked her out. Well, no, like not rudely. It was on thing. We're still recording. So what's going on in basketball, man? Make me happy. Like, let's do 10 minutes of basketball just to take my mind off of this.
Okay, let's do 10 minutes of basketball then. Take Josh's mind off of this.
Or 10 minutes of anything. Just throw questions. Throw sports questions.
Let's just talk about it. Let's just open up the conversation here. Yeah, like I can't sway my mind back to the Leafs or hockey at all. Not even the sport. As a Clippers fan, Kawhi was down 2-0 going into Dallas, where they had lost 2 games prior in home in Los Angeles, and going in 2-0 down back to Dallas. Huge season on the line, everything. I mean, respectively, organization on the line. And Kawhi Leonard comes through and pushes his overall playoff performance throughout his history to just an impressive number. I think he averages 31, 6, and 2 rebounds. Overall in his career in the playoffs as well, alongside 88% free throw shooting, and it was like 49 or 50% from the field. So he's pretty much automatic when it comes to the playoffs. I guess it took him 2 games down to realize that he needed to turn it around and take over, because Luka was dominating and about to eliminate my favorite player from the playoffs again. But now it's 2-2. Clippers and Mavericks, and that game goes tomorrow. Something exciting tonight is that Anthony Davis has been listed as day-to-day with a little bit of a strain. And he's been getting clowned, rather, for being a little bit of a Band-Aid on the internet. Every time he goes out in the court, people say he gets injured nowadays. I want to know, obviously, what this result is, but I think that people still have the Lakers going far. I think they're 2-2 now in the series with the Suns, or maybe even 2-1 to the Suns. And that game goes tonight late, and I think Anthony Davis won't be out there. And I think it's 2-2, and I think the Suns can have this one. This is back in Phoenix as well, so it puts the Lakers at the brink of elimination, potentially, if they win tonight. Other than that, another interesting series is the Trailblazers and Nuggets are at 2-2 tied apiece, and it looks like the Trailblazers are just going to keep pulling ahead because of the depth and the energy they have. And one of your favorite players, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Carmelo Anthony are really pushing this team around the Jamal Murray-less Denver Nuggets right now. And it's going to be a more interesting series than meets the eye. A series that I'm looking to end tonight is the Brooklyn Nets are up 3-1 against the Boston Celtics back at home tonight, Game 5 in Brooklyn. A lot of drama surrounding this series. A fan threw a water bottle at Kyrie Irving. And to speak on a fan throwing things at Kyrie Irving, this whole entire past week since the NBA playoffs has opened it up to a larger fan base for the population of the cities to go into the arena, there have been 4 to 5, even 6 fan outbreak, court rushes, and incidents since the playoffs have started. I've mentioned last night some fan tried to run onto the court. And when you mentioned the security guard tackled him in good timing. There was popcorn being thrown on Russell Westbrook, water bottles. People spit on Trae Young. And there's more, unfortunately. I think that that's just brutal. The players are speaking out on that, and obviously it's not right. I think that it's kind of taken away from the whole greatness of being back in stadiums. You know what I mean? Like even the States have just get over COVID too. Like although they're ahead of us in Canada, like they're still getting over it. And these things they're still wearing masks and back. And I think it's not nice to have that kind of reputation. People waited so long and you're going to go disrespect the game and the players like that. You got to keep everything professional when you're in the stands as well. I mean, I don't know how many people are watching this that go to NBA games, but I think that that's been a huge news. And, Kyrie Irving also, I know this is a big deal in hockey. You don't step on the logo in the dressing room, and although you can't avoid the logo when you're playing on the ice. I don't know if you noticed this, but Kyrie Irving intentionally was recorded going over to
like stomped on it, didn't he?
Lucky, I think the guy's name's Lucky, the mascot, his logo in the middle of the court, and just foot curb stomping it essentially after they beat them and went up 3-1, and that was obviously not to the enjoyment of the Boston fans. Although the Bruins do well in the playoffs, I'm enjoying the downfall of the Celtics right now because I just don't like the Boston fan bases at all. That's an interesting series taking place tonight. I hope that one ends and Brooklyn can get some rest because I obviously have them pulling all the way down to the finals, and I'm sure it'll be great for them. Moving forward, Philadelphia can look to win and wrap up against Russell Westbrook and the Wizards tomorrow night. New York Knicks actually have to hold on against the Atlanta Hawks as they're back at home, but down 3-1. And I don't want to see the Knicks and RJ Barrett go down just like this. Game 7 of that series would be really incredible because it's a huge rivalry at the moment. And I think Trae Young is coming into some amazing superstar in front of our eyes right now, playoff performer. And other than that, it's actually a pretty loaded schedule. We'll have the Clippers and the Jazz, who are up 3-1. They're looking to just roll through the first round here and continue a record-breaking season they had, finishing first. And go Clippers! I wore my jersey last time. They were down 2-0, and now they're 2-2. So I'm hoping for some Clippers luck again. But Blue Jays news. They're kind of actually still hovering around 4th or 3rd in their division. It's kind of a tough division right now. Every team's picking up.
They're dropping off.
Tampa Bay Rays are just being the Tampa Bay Rays for some reason and playing outstanding baseball. And the New York Yankees are just only getting better. And I think Springer is, he's questioned. He has a question mark around him of even his timetable to return back for the Blue Jays, right? So I mean, he was
Montoya's under some heat.
For anything about the Blue Jays positivity was off-season acquisition, and we started out hot, but I mean we're just hovering around that 500 spot right now. And as a Toronto fan, and for us looking forward to the future, we'd just love to see someone happen positive for the community,
Yeah, I got 9 days till the international soccer tournament starts. We got the Euro Cup coming up, and I don't care about soccer, but I'll be cheering on England as they hopefully get to lift the Euro Cup this year. Probably be heartbroken. They're kind of like the Leafs of the soccer world, so we'll see what happens there. But we got a lot of sports coming. But we also got the Olympics approaching soon, so hopefully those go forward. We got a lot of big sporting events. We got the NFL on the horizon. I know it's not close, but it's on the horizon. And we'll see. CFL news. We have the Edmonton Elks.
Yes.
Their team name. We got a lot of good stuff going on. So we'll probably dwell on this Leafs loss for another 24 hours, then we'll start to move on. And
we'll talk about we'll have to find some new fan bases to attract some attention from.
The Seattle Kraken.
We're looking for you guys.
Yes, we are. They got good run. All right, buddy.
Kraken fans out.
Tell them where to follow us.
Please go to our Instagram and get us to 600 followers at Orion Sportscast, and get us to 100 subscribers on YouTube at Orion Sportscast as well. Just follow us on any platform, including Apple Music and Spotify. See you later.